Okay, so I was an editorial and advertising photographer for many, many years, and I worked for the New York Times and Time Magazine, and I did major ad campaigns for Intel, and I never had the opportunity to do a personal project. I was a single mom. I was always working or taking care of my child, and I didn't have the resources or the time. So at a certain point, I decided I was going to take the time and work on a personal project. And it took me actually a year to decide what I wanted to do. And I had been raised going on summers. My dad is from a tiny island in Nova Scotia called Ile Madame, and it's a dairy and fishing area. And my dad was from a 200-year-old family farm. And I would go up for the summers and help my uncle bring in the cows and get up at 5 a.m. And we would, my uncle would just hand me a stick and say, go get the cows. And I was like 6 years old, 8 years old, bringing in a herd of cattle. And something in that lifestyle for me resonated more than I could have ever imagined. And years later, when I went and I wanted to do a personal project, I went to Montana with Norm Clayson. And I don't know if any of you know who Norm Clayson is, but he shot most of the Marlboro campaigns. And he's a big cowboy of a man. And he took me with several other people to some of the ranches in Montana that were now the 70-year-old Marlboro cowboys who were still running their ranches. And I fell in love with the people. And I remember the very first day when I was standing in this field, it was dawn, there was mist, it was cold, and waiting for this very first rancher, Carl Moss, to bring in his cattle and his horses. And the horses was a huge herd of about 100 horses, and they'd been out on a field and they came thundering down at dawn. And the sound and the feeling and standing in that open field was so emotional for me. And I couldn't quite figure out why. And it took me about a year to realize that this was my childhood, that this was resonating with who I was growing up, and that I was coming back to this, seeing this and feeling this. And it was visceral for me. And these were my people, and that I loved this way of life, and I loved the silence and being unplugged. So I started this program working in 2018, and I stopped about a year ago. And it just kept building. And I did the winter series. I realized I had only been going in the nice weather. So in 2019, I decided I was going to go in the winter. So I had a trip planned in February, and my friend who lives where I go to this small area called Polson, called me and said 2 days before I was supposed to go, due to climate change, there's no snow. It's 55 degrees and it's muddy. And I don't know if you want to come. It doesn't look like winter. It's ugly. It's bad. And I thought, oh, okay, we've already made all the arrangements with the ranchers. Everybody's, going to give me their time. And so I said, I'm going to come. And the day I arrived, it went to -5 daytime high, -15, and it dumped 2 feet of fresh powder. And this was the series that I ended up doing in the winter in 2019. And I had 5 days of shooting with these ranchers, and the calves were still dropping. And they started canceling on me and said, I can't, I've been up all night, because they would have to go out in the middle of the night with their car lights and flashlights and check the fields, because it was 15 below and the cattle drop their babies in the night and it's wet, they're wet, so they would freeze. So they were out all night getting them and bringing them into their laundry rooms and putting them in with their dogs to sleep and bring them and keep them warm. And so everyone started canceling. And so this rancher in this image, Jesse, I've been shooting him for years, and I called him expecting him to cancel too. And he said to me, hell no, this is cowboy shit. I'll meet you in an hour. And we shot for 2 or 3 hours, -5 degrees. I had battery packs on my camera so that, I mean, hot packs on my camera, on my batteries, so that they wouldn't just drain off and die. And it was amazing. It was exhilarating. It was fun. And that was the winter series. When I first started, I had a working title of The Disappearing West because I felt like it was a lifestyle that was going away quickly, and it was actually very depressing what was happening to the families, because these are all small family-run ranches. They subsist on this. These are not giant corporates. These are, if this goes under, these people don't eat. You know, they have to sell their land. And as I was going along, I changed the working title to Keepers of the West, because I realized that these people are so passionate and they are going to raise children who are going to want to do this. And these 2 little girls in this picture are determined that they are going to ranch. They're going to make ranching better. They're innovators. And people are trying to rotate the cattle. They're doing so many things to try and make this more environmentally friendly as opposed to just cattle ranching. And big part of the West are horses. And a lot of the ranchers have more horses than they have cows, because the horses are worth more. A cow is worth $500 maybe at market, and horses $2,000, $10,000, $20,000 if it's a great horse. So they actually are more valuable, and they may keep 50, 100 horses and just a few in the barn that are the undersaddle horses, and the rest are stock horses. And this picture is from Return to Freedom, which is a horse rescue in California that I have sponsored a horse at. And they take and rescue a lot of the horses that are from Montana, Utah, Wyoming, that the BLM rounds up, and they end up in holding pens, and a lot of them end up going to the meat industry. And it's very sad because they're supposed to be protected, and they actually aren't. So I was lucky enough to finally gain access to the Native American peoples that are on the same land as the cowboys. And there are a lot of Native American cowboys too. 2 years ago, my friend was able to get us access after many years of trying. And this is an image called Amaya Walking, and it's a young Native girl. The Salish tribe is the local tribe there. And she's wearing her regalia that her grandmother made for her. And she calls it like her old grandma regalia because it's the old style. And there's been a resurgence, which is really wonderful, of the Native American people who are reclaiming their language and how to make their tools and their regalias, and what was almost extinguished is now coming back, which is wonderful. And these are cowboy boots at a rodeo. How many people have ever looked at cowboy boots at a rodeo? They're tied on. They're literally tied on. They're taped on. They're tied on so that they don't go flying off. And I remember sitting in the chutes, which is my favorite place. I would much rather be in the chutes watching the cowboys getting ready and what they're doing and how they're getting dressed. And there was a guy sitting there, and he had tons of holes in his socks. And I said, "Are those your lucky socks?" And he said, "Ma'am, these are my only socks." I was like, okay. So there's like the local rodeos that do not have, the cowboys with a lot of money. And then there are the cowboys who are just trying to make some money from the pot. This is working dogs, which are very much a part of ranch life. And these dogs are tough. They move the cows. I gave this dog bacon every single morning, trying to make friends with Jeff. This is Jeff the dog, Carl's dog. And Jeff liked me when I had bacon and didn't know me when I didn't have bacon because he was just really there to work. This is just part of what I love. It's kids out. They're not on a cell phone. They're not playing video games. They're not attached to a TV. They're out. They're helping the family. They're moving cattle. They're spending the day on horseback. It's hours and hours of outside time. And this is why I love this way of life and this project so much. To me, we've lost a lot because a lot of us don't have this access to land and we can't spend time outside. And I just think it's really important that we get our feet in the dirt and we get dirty and we're under the sky. Again, in the chutes, waiting his turn, just at the rodeo, who's going to be next? Wild horses, which, again, they're just so important. They're part of our culture. Horses changed everything in the West, and I strongly believe that they need protections. This is called walking in, and it's never a good thing when you see a cowboy walking in on his horse, because cowboys ride their horses. So if they're walking, there's a problem. And on this day, this was a young horse that was just getting really frisky. And even though this guy was an amazing rider, he just decided the smart thing was just to get off and walk the horse in. So if you see a horse being walked in, either somebody got hurt, the horse is not behaving, there's something going on that is not going well. Bucking broncos. This is from a small Native American rodeo. I think I saw Mara in here. Mara was with me. Mara and I actually created the pot, which is, the prize money for this, because the small Native American rodeos don't have pots. They don't have money. They don't have sponsors. And we just really wanted these guys to come out. We wanted them to have a rodeo, and it was at a Native American ranch. And it was just a wonderful day of watching people, families be together. And the fact that these people think it's fun to get crashed is like beyond my, risk aversion, but they love it, and more power to them. This is family gathering, out. And this photo was, people always ask me, where are you when you take pictures of the horses running and the people? And generally I'm just standing in the field, and you're just trying not to, get run over, and you're just very aware. But this one day there was a big basin, a water tub, and it was really sturdy concrete out in the middle, and I've never felt safer. It was amazing. I just sat in there, the dog jumped in with me, had a little nap. So that was wonderful. This is, I don't know if any of you have ever heard of the Great American Horse Drive. It happens once a year. It's in Craig, Colorado, which is northern Colorado. They move anywhere from 300 to 1,000 horses every year from their winter pasture, where they're just out all winter just grazing. And over a 2-day period, they bring them down. They run them through the town, Maybell. They go through fields. They overnight in a field. They rest. And people actually fly in from all over the world to ride in this. People were there from Germany and Austria and Australia, and they just come in for 3 or 5 days so that they can do this ride. And it is wild to hear the sound of hundreds of horses being moved. And this is the very end when they were coming in. And to be honest, I was exhausted. It had been 2 days and I was bumping in the back of a pickup truck sitting on hay bales and literally doing this for 2 days shooting, and my back was shot, my hips were shot. I was tired and I was like, oh, I'll just stop. And someone said to me, they've been riding for 2 days. The least you can do is wait for them. And I went, fair enough. And I waited until every single horse was in. And yeah, I was glad I did, because this was the very end. And the horses were running again, even though they were exhausted. They were just happy there was water and they knew where they were. This is Racing the Storm, and it is just a cowboy running the edge of at the end of the day, just running. And at this point, I will say all of my prints are silver gelatin prints. They are printed by a master printer whose name is Laurent Girard. And I am really lucky that he moved 15 minutes away from me in Los Angeles. And I can chat with him in the dark room and we can make sure everything's perfect, and he's wonderful. So I decided I wanted to do silver gel because I just feel like it is a historic process and it matches the story really well. These are just some installation images from my solo exhibition that was part of the CPA award for critical mass that Anne Jastrab was kind enough to give me. And it was a wonderful show. Just very grateful to Anne for this. It was just so wonderful to see people come out. And just some press. So does anybody have any questions? Feel free to jump in.
Landry, this is Bob Gouch. All your shots are black and white. Are you shooting with a monochrome camera?
I am not. I shoot on an old Canon digital, and I am shooting everything in color, and I just convert. I'm a Luddite. I just literally work in Lightroom, and I just do a black and white conversion on all of my images. And then we make digital neg, and we make a digital neg that prints to silver gel.
Yeah, I was going to ask that because it's definitely, to me anyway, doesn't look like a inkjet print, you know.
No, they're not inkjet.
Yeah.
I have never done, well, I can't say I have never done. I have done some inkjet, but never for this series. There's just something so absolutely rich and gorgeous about a beautiful silver gelatin print that I'm in love with. I do my own platinum printing, which I have done for this series also. I did some of the Winter's horses in platinum. And that's wonderful too. I just don't have a silver gel at my house. So.
But you make a negative when you do the platinum printing, is that right?
Yes, you make a huge negative. You make I make a digital negative that you print out that is the size. When you're doing platinum printing, it's the size of what you are printing. Which is, when you're doing silver gelatin, it's different because you have an enlarger, and so you can make it bigger. But if I'm doing a 20 by 24 platinum print, it's a 20 by 24 negative.
Right.
Yeah. And then you sweat and get a migraine when you're doing those giant pours.
Yeah.
I can attest to.
Well, where is the this Great American Horse Drive? You said it's in Craig, Colorado?
Craig, Colorado. Yeah.
And how do you, if you wanted to go to that, how would one do that? Is there a way to find out?
Yes, there is a way to find out. There's a ranch. I will find out the name and I will send it to Mike. I can't think of the
Okay.
name of it. They do, it's a ranch and I can't remember the name of it, but they do it every year. And the people who organize the shoots have changed since I did it. And for me, you kind of have to be self-motivated. They will organize, you know, that you have a truck to ride on, but they are not going to help you. It's not a workshop. It's not someplace where they're going to tell you your settings and stuff. You just have to sort of go, you know, and make your opportunities.
But they will they'll transport you around to
Yes.
play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They will transport you around.
Sombrero?
Yes. Thank you.
What's the name of it?
The Sombrero Ranch. You
Uh,
can find them on Instagram. I think the guy who's running the photo stuff now actually isn't a photographer, which is interesting. The people who used to do it don't do it anymore. They were photographers. The guy now is like a cowboy, singer, rancher. So I can't tell you how great that setup is, but you know, you'll get access, which is really what you want.
Very good. Thank
It's
you.
sombrerohorses.com.
Yeah.
Sombrero was okay.
Yeah. And Maybell is this cute little weird town. I will tell you, it is not a picturesque area of Colorado. When I landed there, I thought it was going to be some beautiful, wonderful area. It's a lot of scrub and it's not scenically pretty up there. It used to be an old mining town, if that tells you anything about the logistics. But you have access to the horses and you go to the ranch and it's great for that.
Well, I was going to say you're an excellent photographer. These photos are just really just fabulously beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
I had a couple of questions, if you don't mind. I'm Stanley Horowitz from
Yeah.
here. So,
Hey, Stanley.
yeah, hello, my dear. This, I didn't mean to say that, but these are just lovely photographs. I guess lately, all I do is look at black and white photographs, and they're so harsh. And everybody, oh, you have to have the blacks are so black and the whites are so white. But this is what I've been used to when I was raised on this old school look. It's just gorgeous to look at.
So are these scans of the prints?
These are not scans of the prints. These are the negatives. This is a digital image.
Okay.
In the installation images that I showed you at the end, those are, you know, pictures of the actual prints. But they look just like this because
Those are what's coming out of this, what's coming out of the camera.
No.
yes. It's not, no, I'm not shooting monochrome. So I'm shooting color and I'm doing conversions in Lightroom to black and white.
Right. But I mean, this is what's coming.
So then how do you go about making a negative from the conversion?
The negative, I send off and I make sure that my digital image is perfect for what I want. And I just send it and they just make a negative for me. I send all of my negs to Griffin Editions in New York. And I've worked with them since I started this project and they make my negatives. And my printer, Laurent, actually used to be one of their printers in New York. And so he has a great relationship with them and they just send him the negs and then he and I just talk and print and everything is pretty straight right off of my digital image.
They're wonderful. So Michael, I had a question for you. I guess you send me these invitations and this is the first time I've managed to join you. I guess I get the invitations because I once was exhibited at one of your shows. Mm-hmm. So there's only a few people here, really. You must send this out to hundreds of people?
Yeah.
Where are they all?
That's a good question.
I mean, I'm in New York. And
by the way, I want to say I'm really enjoying these two. These are lovely, actually amazing pictures and really capture a slice of life that most of us don't get to see.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it is. it's a way of life that a lot of people don't even know about anymore. It's so funny because when I meet people from Europe, and a lot of them are just like, do people actually live like this? Isn't this just, TV shows or movies? I'm like, no, this is actually the way people live and ride. And, they have these amazing skills. If you've ever seen anybody rope a cow that on a galloping horse and catch it on the first try, it's kind of amazing. I don't even know how that happens. It's just, and you saw the little girl working on it, that she already is working on lassoing, and it's remarkable, the skill that goes into it. And that's what rodeos are. Rodeos are just cowboys showing off for money, they're for bragging rights and money. And those are just their working skills that they do every day.
So,
I want, oh, are you done?
yes, go ahead.
Okay. I wanted to say that I do love your project, and I love it for personal reasons. I love documentary photography, and I love horses. And I also love the way you have integrated the environment into the photograph. And I could say this is about clouds. I could say it's about atmosphere. I mean, it's about your experience there, but you have managed to integrate that so well that there's a lot to look at. And I also wanted to say that, or ask, what's your relationship with horses?
Well, my relationship with horses, here's my relationship with horses. I was horse obsessed all my childhood. And I would ride anybody's horse that they would let me on. And, I got abused by people's Shetland's ponies and just, like knocked into trees and all kinds of stuff because I had no skills. And as soon as I was old enough and was earning my own money, like I poured all my money into leasing a horse and lessons and showing. And I grew up in Boston. So of course it was all English, and we were show jumping and doing that kind of thing. And it wasn't Western riding at all. And then when I moved out to California, we had horses, and then I had horses up until about a year ago. We always had two horses, my husband and I. And so I do understand, I think when people are photographing horses, it's really important to understand gait. And what I see, especially if you go to like the Great American Horse Drive, is a lot of people are doing spray and pray and just shooting and hoping they get something. But it's really a rhythm and a cadence. And you want to get the horse's front leg moving forward. You don't want it back, because that's when they look like they're going to fall over. So you just are looking for that movement, and you're looking for that rhythm. And that for me is just, the magic of horses.
Right. So your writing informed your photography.
Yes, it did. And my love of horses definitely is there. And I love anybody who rides and is a gentle rider and has soft hands. And whenever I see pictures of horses with their mouths pulled back on the bits and going crazy, it's a bad rider. It's like, it makes me crazy because, horses' mouths are really sensitive, and a lot of horses just, get dead mouths because people are just all over them. So you can tell a lot about, especially men, how they ride.
Thanks for that tip on the photography part of it. That's great about the horse's feet, front feet going forward. And I want to say something to Linda. I really appreciated your comment about your observation about her photos, integrating the land and that type of thing. That was a great comment.
Thank you.
All right, it's Stanley again. So, I mean, I'm looking at the picture you have on the screen now, and it looks like you're on a horse looking straight at him.
No,
I'm
on the ground.
You're on the ground,
I
but
know.
you're a little higher than you would be on the ground, because he would be higher on your head.
Nope, I'm on the ground, Stanley. I'm 5'7", on the
I
ground.
know, but are you on a little raised spot of the ground?
Nope, just flat.
Just flat.
Yeah, I'm just flat, and I'm just shooting, I'm shooting right at him.
Right?
So,
You know,
Yeah.
I too shoot horses, but I do it at the racetrack like a degenerate photographer. And so I made a study of Degas, and he did a bunch of paintings, a lot of paintings of the racetrack and horses. And he painted them. I studied them, and he painted them as if he was on a horse on the same plane. So the heads of the horses and his paintings are on the same plane. I'm pointing my hands at the stupid computer. So when I go to the racetrack, I try and get a position where I'm looking at the jockeys coming and going, and I get up higher. I get up on a step or a stool or a couple of looking down at them, so that I do that. But I'm the only one who appreciates that. No one I've ever shown the pictures to has caught on to that. So I sort of like, it's like it's a wasted effort on my part.
you know, Sally, what's really interesting is I find that I shoot at all different levels. Like I've literally laid down on my belly and shot horses running towards me on my belly, because you're just going to get a totally different perspective, and you're going to see a lot of legs and a lot of dust. And it's cool to mix up your perspective. I wouldn't want to be above a horse, because then their legs look short and small. It's sort of like I look at what I want the horse to look its best. So I'm looking for what makes its proportions stretch and look good. Generally, that's
you can see that what you just talked about, that one photo where the horse is
This is
right above you.
It's lovely.
Yeah.
Wow, it's so exciting.
It is. I'll tell you a funny story. When I first started going to Carl Moss's, and he was bringing down like his 100 horses, Norm Clayson said to me, you know, they're going to be running right at you, and just don't move. Like, just don't move. You're out in the middle of the field and you don't know where they're going to go. And he said, just stick, because if you move, horses have this weird conocular vision where they see far ahead, but when they're actually blind, when they get within like 2 feet, they don't see anything. So they're going on what they saw, not what they're seeing. And so you have to stay where you are so they don't knock you. And so you see this big, huge herd of horses coming, and I'm like, okay, I'm good. Okay, I'm good. And then they split, and one went one way and one went another way. And they came right down the middle of where I was standing. And it was so funny, because you could literally see where I dropped my camera down in my progression of shots. And I went, shit, shit, shit. And then I just picked it back up and started shooting, and I just saw them coming, and nobody hit me. But I have pictures of this one young horse running by me that had this look like, what are you doing here, lady? Like, what's happening? Why are you in the middle of our field? And you just can't move. You just stay where you are, and this giant, herd of horses runs by you.
Landry, I'm just so happy to see this and to learn more about your process of making these. I had no idea the level of work that, that goes into being able to capture this. And I just wanted to say that I agree with what somebody said about the beautiful gray tones. It's like you're taking this like really rugged area of the world, but it looks so soft in your lens, the way that you photographed it. And I think it's a unique view that is really beautiful. And just every one of these is so exquisite to look at. So thank you so much. I've really enjoyed listening to this and seeing this.
Thank you. It's just, I think my lens is that I love the subject, and I love the people, and I love the horses. So that's, that's my soft poetic side that comes out, even, when I'm shooting, running horses and cowboys. That's sort of like, I sort of think that we all photograph what we see, how we see the world. And I know I've been standing next to 5 different photographers, and everything we shoot looks totally different. It's just how we see it. Everybody who worries about, oh, we're all going to get the same shot. We're really not,
Where can you buy your book?
My book has been in progress for several years, and it's still, I have had several offers from some amazing publishers, but I'd rather buy a car than do a book right now. So that's the state of, books. So I have not popped for the book yet.
I had a question about what I think is one of my favorites of your photographs. It's the one of it's kind of up close. You see the cowboy's stirrup, leg in his
Oh,
stirrup,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
the horse's, the neck is
That's fun.
twisted a little bit. Yeah,
one.
Yeah.
that I love that. And it's the gesture of the horse is fantastic. Is that an Arab?
No, they don't have Arabs. These are all quarter horses. And some of them are just Mustangs because this guy is a quarter horse, but they don't have Arabs. This is just
I didn't think they did, but the dip in the nose from this angle.
Yeah.
And
He looks a little, but he's
yeah.
And this
Yeah.
is like one of those great perspective things because I was on the ground on my back, laying there with them up top. And I was waiting for this moment, like waiting for the horse to turn its neck, because I can tell you that the gesture from the horse made the image. And when the horse had a straight neck or was looking at me, it was not anything special to me. And I just waited and waited and waited and waited. And
but you see what I mean about the angle on the neck makes it look sort of like an Arabian stallion, and but that's not what cowboys use, so I was wondering about that. Yeah. And just the rope, the way he's got the rope and that stirrup, the foot in the stirrup, that says so much about riding, the way your feet are placed in the stirrup. And
and also if you notice what he's riding with, like what's on the horse's head, he's riding a bitless stall. And there's no bit. And this guy, like, I know so many real cowboys who, when they're amazing riders, they ride like this. There's no bit. It doesn't even have it's just a nose. It's just going on its nose. And that means that the cowboy is working with the horse and they are working together, which is, he's not strong arming or muscling the horse, which that's the best riding for me.
And this is another one where your clouds, the diagonal clouds, just increase the tension and the interest in the photograph. It just is a lovely photograph.
Thank you. Montana and Colorado have the best clouds, and New Mexico has amazing clouds too, I have to say, but yeah, they have great clouds. Does anybody have any other questions?
Anybody else have anything for Landry?
Why are you named Landry?
It's a family last name. My dad's from this little island in Canada, and it is a last name.
Thanks.
My name is Jerry. I did have a comment I put in, there isn't a question section, so I typed it. But first of all, I did want to also compliment you on your beautiful incorporation of the landscape into your photographs. And it does add quite a bit of depth to the subject, and that I really appreciate. But I was wondering, as this, what are your favorite focal lengths? Like, how do you capture the horse and create your subject and your focal point? Emphasize, for example, in this photograph, the horse, and yet capture this landscape. So what sort of focal distances do you like to work?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm like a crazy person. Even if I'm shooting running horses, I'm shooting at 2.8 or 4. I rarely go above that. I mean, I have a herd of running horses and I am spot focusing. I'm constantly spot focusing. I'm never generally focusing. And I'm spot focusing on a horse's eye. I'm picking what I want to focus on. There's never a general camera. I'm a manual shooter. So I'm picking what I want. And the first thing I'm always going to pick is going to be, my f-stop, and it's always going to be, 2.8 for 1 if something, if I can. And I adjust my shutter speed for what I want to see. And then, I mean, I love 50 millimeter. I love small fixed lenses. I don't love zooms. I will do a zoom if I'm out in the field and, I need something really wide. I'll do the 75, 200 and go with that. But I hate the distortion that you get sometimes if you're not at the right, you think it's looking good, but you're getting a little lens distortion. So if I can do a prime, I'll do a prime. If not, I'll do a zoom. But honestly, I just think spot focusing on what you want to be important in your picture, and just a low f-stop for me.
Great, thank you.
Welcome.
Do you have a website?
I do. It's landrymajor.com.
Oh, that's difficult to remember.
I know, that's very hard. And I'm on Instagram, Landry Major Art.
Going back to the photo just before this of the 2 wild horses, where were you taking that?
This is in New Mexico. It was in New Mexico. I was in Taos, and I actually hated Taos. And it was so touristy. I thought it was going to be something pleasant, and it was just this really touristy town with like gift shops and weird things. And I just went out walking, just like left town with my camera and just walked and walked and walked. And I came upon these 2 horses, 2 wild horses. And the interesting thing is the mare that's in the back with her teeth, she was ancient and super bony and sway backed. And she actually wanted attention from me. And she kept trying to come up to me, and this big, healthy, younger horse kept trying to block her. And she just had enough. And she just rose up at this horse in this moment when I was just, there, and just said, no, you're not going to do that. I'm going to get over there and I'm going to pat her. And she did. She drove the horse over, and she was old and scrawny, but yeah, just horse personality moment,
I was going to say, exactly. This also struck me as really a rare find, and so expressive. And so it's kind of an intimate portrait of equine behavior,
Thank you. Yeah, they're all very individual and have a lot of personality. And I think it's just about waiting, I don't know if I'll find it. The image of the wild horses at the sanctuary, this horse, I was there with some other people, and these horses had just all come in. They were a band of horses that had been saved. It had taken them a year to get them out, and they were all gorgeous. And they weren't in a big area. They were in a small area. And I remember someone else who was there with a camera said, oh, we're never going to get any good pictures here. It's just a terrible setup, whatever. And I just sat there and waited, and I got absolutely glorious pictures. I have 5 images that I absolutely love and use, and I got them running, and it's just sort of like waiting for horses to be horses. They're not attractive when they're grazing. They're attractive when they run. They're attractive when they move. And, if you're going to give up right away, you're just not going to get great horse pictures. I think horses, you have to have a lot of patience for.
For me, this is the most painterly looking picture that you have there. It is just lovely.
Thank you. And I have to say, dust makes for great pictures.
Yeah.
Just like
we were talking about Taos. I think it changed when Easy Rider came out. I was one of those fools looking for the hot springs that they were bathing in.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when it came out. So let's go over there. Let's go there, look for that hot springs. And then I think it changed right then and there.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be some, funky Western town, and it was just like one guest shop after another.
Yeah, It was a flood of fools like myself looking for this place.
Okay.
So I have one real quick question.
Yep.
In this photo, the rope is around the body of the horse. How did that
Yes.
happen?
Good spot. I was waiting to see if anybody saw. This is what happens when it's 5 below zero and the horse has ice on it. And it literally just slipped when it went over the horse's neck, and as its legs went forward, it just slipped, and that never happens, like never
Wow.
happened. And it was just a fluke because it was so cold that day. And I actually called stopping because the horses were running so much and they were getting really disoriented. And I felt like they were not in great shape after 2 hours of, being moved and running. So I was like, I think we should stop after 2 hours because they were just really cold and they were just getting really kind of frosted. So, but good spot.
Yeah, well, thanks. Is this on your website or?
It is.
Okay, great.
It is.
Yeah, I have some friends that I show work to from various artists.
Ah, thank you.
Any
Yeah.
future projects?
Well, you know what I'm working on. I am working on a new series that is a collaboration with my son Cash, who passed away last Christmas. And he was a very good photographer in his own right. And so I'm doing double and triple exposure images of his work and my work blended, which has become a passion project for me. So that's on my Instagram. And yeah, it's kind of interesting. It is my relationship with my son moving forward. So.
And that's sad. I'm sorry for that for you.
Thank you.
And your IG is Landry Major Photos or Photography is what? I'm sorry, say that again.
Landry Major Art.
Art. Okay. Thank you.
Art or arts?
Art, I think, isn't it? I believe it's art.
I'm looking at Instagram and it says Landry Major Photo on there. It looks like it has pictures of some of the pictures that what you're talking about.
Let me look.
Then there's a link to landrymajorphoto.com. So maybe
No, it
there's
says
another.
Landry Major Art is my Instagram.
Okay.
Should look like Landry Major Art. I don't know if you can see it, but it says Landry Major Art. I think there might be another random one on there from when the Russians hijacked my Instagram 2 years
I
ago.
see. Yeah. Okay, got it. Okay, here it is.
And I had to yes, they changed my password and then they changed my email and I was hacked out of my own thing, but by Russians, but I got it back eventually.
Well, there's a Landry Major Photo, FOTO, that's I guess
that was like
a fugitive link.
that's the fugitive, yeah.
Yeah, that's a European spelling. Some Europeans FOTO instead of the way we spell it.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it. We'll go ahead and wrap it up for today.
Thank you, everyone, for coming and listening. I much appreciate it.
Well, thank you. It's great. I really enjoyed it.
Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome. And if anyone thinks of any questions, you feel free to message me on Instagram or through my website. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michael.